The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Welcome to the Brandon Peters Show, coming to you once again from Doctoberfest, this year's 2025 Regenerate. It's also a very special day, and the new novel from Zepo Publishing, Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who, is releasing today, where the publisher and myself and other people who contribute to the book will be doing a signing. There's a lot happening here, but this year we're going to focus on the fan aspect of those coming to Doctoberfest and their fantastic experience in discovering Doctor Who. But who better to lead you into this than Zepo's very own Nick Seidler?
Hey, hi there. This is Nick Seidler. I'm at Doctoberfest 2025, Canby, Indiana, or just outside of Indianapolis. Very excited to be invited here for Doctoberfest. Me and the Zepo Publishing crew are very excited. We just actually released today a brand new book called Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who. We have over 100 Doctor Who fans that actually answered 4 questions. We'd love to actually know what kind of your answers are too. So those 4 questions that we asked were, what was the very first Doctor Who story that you ever saw? What was the first episode, really? And in some cases, ironically, in the book, it wasn't an episode at first, which was really kind of a fun read. The second question, of course, is how did you become a fan of the show after that? What was a little bit of your journey? The third question that we asked in the book that was one of my favorite parts of the whole book project that we did was, what is your favorite fan moment in Doctor Who? Which was really a great question to ask because of the amount of stories and the variety that we got. It's amazing the journeys that Doctor Who fans have had. And the fourth and last question, this is very often a question that fans, of course, ask themselves, is if you were to introduce somebody else to the series Doctor Who, which episode would you start another person on? And we know that people ask those questions, fans ask each other those questions all the time, but it's never been documented in a book before, so Zepo Publishing was like, hey, let's do this, let's ask all the fans. And we've had amazing results. A lot of people got involved in the project. We're happy to include them. So it's particularly fun.
My name is Noel Bird. I am from Gillette, Wyoming.
My name is Stephen Warren Hill, and I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
Danny, currently living in Indiana. We're going to be moving at some point. So.
My name is Jacob Bennett. I'm from Southern Indiana.
Ziad Ibhutin, and I was born in Georgia.
I don't know which exact episode it was, but it was from one of the older black and white doctors. My grandmother actually got me into it when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. She was always into older UK television shows, and that was one of the first ones that she got me on. But when I started rewatching the series again, it was actually the episode where Rose goes back and meets her dad for the first time. And it was really emotional to me, and it got me hooked on the whole series all over again.
Well, to the best of my recollection, and I could be wrong, I believe it to have been the Sea Devils, because I remember them coming out of the ocean, and that would have been in 1975 on Chicago's Channel 11 public television station. It could have been the Claws of Axos, because I also remember seeing that episode, and I remember bits of other episodes that I saw in 75. And then Channel 11 moved it to a time slot past my bedtime, and I couldn't watch it anymore.
The first story, I don't remember the name of it, but it's a Fourth Doctor comic I got from a comic shop called Danger Room. And absolutely hooked from that. But after that point, the 14th Doctor specials, some of the 10th Doctor, it's a bit messy. But the 4th Doctor was my introduction.
It was The Beast Below. It was 11th Doctor's second episode.
I don't know the exact name, but I know it's the newest one.
I've always been into sci-fi type things and fantasy as a whole, and I love time travel in general. But when I got back into the episode, it brought a nostalgia to me from my grandmother, and she's still alive and everything. But it's nice to feel reconnected with my childhood over something that's so intelligent.
Well, catching it on TV, and I'm convinced I just was changing channels and came across it. And I'm also equally convinced that one of the reasons that I stopped was because it looked like a soap opera, but it had a monster. I think that's why flipping channels, I might have stopped and stayed watching. So I was into monsters. I was into monster movies already at the time. And, the concepts of science fiction and fantasy already were fascinating me. I was, in 75, I was 9 years old, so I was already into this stuff, and I started watching. I loved the show, even though I only got to see a few episodes before I didn't get to see it again for several years until it really came back in 78. And when it did come back in 78, I already knew about it. So I was telling everybody that I knew, oh, this is a great show. You got to watch it. I used to watch it back in Chicago. I was already a fan, so I was jumping in with both feet on that.
It's same answer. The comic, I knew a little bit about it. I thought maybe I'd like it, and that's what made me want to try it.
Just by watching that episode and falling in love with it, I just then continued following the episodes every week, and when I ran out of new episodes to watch, I just started watching previous Doctors.
My mom always talked about it multiple times, so I decided to give it a try.
One of my first moments where I ever got to meet other Whovians, I was at a convention over in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I was doing a button swap with people, and a bunch of people, I've had this hat for years, but it's gone through a bunch of different button changes. But that year at the end of it, I had nothing but Doctor Who buttons on this hat, and it was covered front to back. It was crazy cool.
The one that I relate in the Fantastic book is as the program director and MC of the Chicago TARDIS convention. A couple of years ago, we had Rachel Talalay as a guest. The year that she directed the Star Beast episode, and I was already a massive fan of her previous work, her previous Doctor Who episodes, and other things. So I was very excited to be able to introduce her, but to be able to introduce her in front of a packed room and to show everybody this brand new episode that had just aired, that was featuring, the return of David Tennant and Catherine Tate. The feeling was incredible, and I will never forget that. I was in a place of advantage, and I realized that, but it's still a wonderful feeling to be able to do that, and I will never forget that moment.
I can't say I really have one yet. For now, I'd say this. This is my first ever really festival or convention for Who. So for now, I'd say this.
My favorite moment probably came from when we were at Doctoberfest on the 60th anniversary. Sophie Aldred came up and said hi to us. It's probably one of my favorite memories I have of Doctor Who.
In the first episode, they fought a bunch of goblins by singing, and that was a very catchy tune.
A lot of my friends are really artsy, and for that reason, I think I'd have to pick the classic Van Gogh episode. Even for people who don't know anything about it, I think that if you're connected to art or art history, it's a really empowering episode.
My answer changes all the time, so I'm not even going to remember what I wrote in the book, but This time I'm going to say I usually give two answers: classic series and current series. So for classic series, this time I'm going to say Mask of Mandragora. I think it's a very interesting story and an idea, but it has location shooting, and it really draws you in. So there's that, and there's a little bit of horror in it, but it's not too scary, and it has some cool explanations about how the show works. That's kind of cool, too. There are other great places. I always tell people, watch the first episode. Watch the very, very first episode, An Unearthly Child. Even if you don't watch the rest of the other 3 episodes of that serial, watch the first one. And then Heaven Sent is going to be my new choice, my choice for the moment for a new series episode for people to jump in with. I think in the book I said 11th Hour, but I'm going to say Heaven Sent this time.
Well, I'm getting my mom and my boyfriend into Who. So, Ninth Doctor, very first season. I think that's a great starting point.
I would tell them to start with the 11th Hour because it is a good refresh. It is a good jumping on point for someone who hasn't seen the show before.
Probably the newest one, mostly because I don't really know what happens in the first and couple, but I'm pretty sure, tomorrow I'm going to start watching it from the start.
Hello, everybody. I'm here with the new showrunner. Since it's Doctor Who, we got to talk about showrunners of Doctoberfest. The one and only David Bradbury. Hello, David.
Hello.
So, year 1 of Doctoberfest. What is your goal with getting the reins handed to you and this now being your baby, so to speak?
Well, we called our event, Regenerate, because, my mom has passed the reins on to me to handle this whole event, and it's been a little hectic, but, I hopefully can make it a better experience for everyone, changing layouts and trying to address vendor needs and hopefully make it more entertaining for everyone who passes through.
Any specific change or something that you're like, I did that so far that's been in yours, or are you just trying to keep it afloat for your first and learn?
It was mainly to keep it afloat, but, we did change the tent layouts. We went ahead and got all the tents set up with electricity to the best we could, which is a big step up from last year, no electricity to electricity. But other than that, it's, next year we'll hopefully try to find some other ways to make it more engaging for kids, get more games out there. We brought back the outdoor games that were missing last year, and we'll just take it step by step.
Excellent. So, when I got the title Regenerate, did that come from you, or who did that come from?
It came from me and my parents. We were talking about good ideas. It's like, well, since this is my first year, it is kind of like Regeneration, so that fits the Doctor Who theme. We hadn't done that title before, so that's what we went with.
All right, excellent. And so people who are watching this now, the event's already over. But for next year, what's an exciting word or something you can say to expect?
Not sure at this point. We typically plan for the next year in the coming months right after the Doctoberfest. So just keep posted online, check back, and see if we got any updates at that point.
Okay, cool. Thank you, David.
My name is Tara, and I am from Carmel, Indiana.
My name is Justin Nyquist, and I'm from Sutton, Massachusetts.
I am Avery Eller. I am from around here, just south side of Indianapolis.
So, Doctoberfest here, you are the home of the release party for Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who from Zepo Publishing. How's it feel to have a book dropping 2 years in a row at your...
Oh, pretty good. We're very happy to have Zepo here. They did a great job last year, and so it's always a pleasure to have them back. Now that they've dropped this book, it's just looking forward to it.
So I know you're not in the book, but I'm asking everybody, people attending, as many as I can, not everybody, there've been a lot, nuts, about the questions from the book and just your answers, because they ask every fan 4 questions. And you're going to be a little bit different because you have, ever since you were born, grown up into Doctor Who, pretty much. So what was the first episode or story of Doctor Who that you saw?
It was the very first episode of Eccleston, Ninth Doctor. As soon as that reboot happened, that's where I started off.
Rose, okay.
Oh gosh. I think the first episode I saw was one of, I think just when it came back on in the U.S., right? And when we had Eccleston. And so, yeah, just restarted it when my mom told me what it was.
The Pirate Planet.
Oh, I think that was Day of the Doctor. I'm pretty sure it was Day of the Doctor. I remember seeing John Hurt's Doctor there.
How did you become a fan of the show?
It was only on the Dalek episodes, because I was just like kind of iffy on the first few episodes that I saw. But then as soon as I saw, Daleks for the first time, it was just like, wow, I love that. I'd love to make one of those one day. And at the end of the day, I just end up at the store.
So I come from a family of sci-fi and avid readers, and so a lot of appreciation for like British humor and British pop culture. So my mom was talking about this Doctor Who, and so yeah, she introduced me to it, and it just took off from there.
Okay. Basically, it was because I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted as long as it was on PBS after I got home from school. Doctor Who was on, and the rest is history. Even when they changed their format, it was whenever that was on, Mom was like, oh yeah, you can watch that.
So I saw it when it was first coming out in when 11's run was going on in 2013, dropped off, but then recently came back to the show and just was like, I'll just start from the beginning and see how it goes. And I just fell in love with it from 9's era and just binged the entire thing.
What is your favorite moment in your fandom experience?
Oh goodness, there was some conventions a while back where people would dress up as Daleks, and we had some nice pictures of them all lined up dressed up as Daleks, and I thought that was just really cool seeing the fandom take off like that. And then now we see a lot of the robotic ones, fully robotic, running around. I just love seeing all the Dalek creations being made.
So I would say my favorite moment is when my family dressed up as multiple characters for Halloween. So the kids were really little. I think my son was 4, and he was the Matt Smith Doctor. Maybe he was 5. Claire was 6 or 7, and she was a Dalek. And then I was a Weeping Angel, and my husband was the, I can't say the name of it. Will you say it? What is it? The Vasha Durana. I'm totally messing that up. But the spaceman with the skeleton. Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one to answer. You want me to say it? Might as well say it. Being able to have access to Tom Baker's original scarf. Well, I met the man who acquired it or owned it, who acquired it from the person who gained it from the BBC, so on and so forth. And he used it to knit probably the best replicas on Earth. Sadly, that person is no longer with us. But yeah, it was a life-changing experience, I got to say.
So there was this, so it was one of the years we came here. We had amassed just like this large group of people, and we have this like picture of it where it was like 10 people all at once, all as different doctors. It was really cool. And we were just all kind of hanging around for a while. It was really nice.
If you were to introduce someone else to Doctor Who, what episode or story would you tell them to start with, and why?
It's always got to be Blink, it's the go-to. It's a good one that's kind of out on its own story. But it helps people get an idea of what makes Doctor Who exciting, what makes it, kind of thrilling. And, it may not have any Daleks in it, much to my dismay, but it is a really good standalone episode.
Oh gosh. I would probably tell them to do One of like the Matt Smith episodes where he and River Song are on an adventure together, because I think they have such great chemistry, and it's just an easy part of the story to get into.
I'd probably start with the 2005 revival with Chris Eccleston and just start from there, then maybe break them gently into, a lot of the older episodes.
I always just tell people to start with Rose if they're willing to commit, because it's such a good introduction to the show.
VanMersbergen. I'm the host and producer of the Doctor Who Collectors podcast. I've been a Doctor Who collector since 1981. I am here at Doctoberfest as the guest speaker of honor with toys and games featured in the panel room, and you're about to see my dealer table. I'm out here with the vendors. These are all items that are extra from the collection, either purchased or acquired, and are not needed in the collection at the moment. So here we go. So we've got some toys, we've got some videos, we've got old annuals, we've got a Patrick Troughton model over here, we've got Radio Times going back to 1972, we've got the Missing K9 books, we've got a Doctor Who Pescatons album from the Australian Record Club, we've got Peter Davison puzzles, we've got audiobooks on cassette from the old days, all still sealed, hardcover books from W.H. Allen and Alan Wingate. If you're into Target books, we've got reading copies that you don't care what the condition is and you just want to read them. Or if you're collecting them, I've got them all the way to First Doctor to the Ninth Doctor, a little over 400 books. So come on out and take a look and see what you're missing.
My name is Sarah Ann Bennett, and I'm from Indiana, USA. More specifically, I'm from North Vernon.
My name is Rob Warnock, and I am from South Elgin, Illinois.
My name is Lauren Ritz, and I am from Carmel, Indiana.
September 27, 1975, part 1 of The Mutants, as it aired on WTTW Chicago.
That's a bit of a difficult one. I think the first one I do remember seeing all the way through is The 11th Hour, because my brother set us down in our living room to show it. I think that's the first one, but I'm not entirely sure. But that's the first one I remember seeing all the way through.
I am part of Fantastic. I am on page 240, so close to the end. So my first episode I actually watched was Planet of Evil, and it was during spring break. Since I'm from Chicago, Doctor Who was on late on Sunday night, so I was still in high school at the time, and I couldn't always stay up to watch it, so I watched it that Sunday night during spring break, and I got hooked, and the rest is history, I guess. I had seen it once before when it was on episodic during the weekdays, and I think it might have been Sontaran Experiment, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I actually do remember this. So it was The 11th Hour. That was the first. I kind of am a weirdo in how I got into Doctor Who, is that nobody introduced it to me. I saw an ad for Series 5 on TV in my dorm room, and I was intrigued. So started there and kept going.
I never missed an episode after that first viewing of The Mutants, continued it through the late 70s into the early 80s when I started collecting Doctor Who merchandise in 1981.
It took a little while. My brother got into it right when Matt Smith became the Doctor, and I was more like a casual viewer at the time. So my brother got the figures. I played with the figures. I watched he watched compilation videos of 3 generations. So it was kind of there, kind of not. But it took me a long while. I'd say 2020, when he started going to Doctor Who again. I'm like, Finally it clicked. It took a while.
But it did.
But I'm glad it did.
I had a friend who started watching it about the same time I did, and so on Monday mornings in marching band, we talk about the previous night's episode, and then I went to my first convention probably a little more than a year after I started watching it. So it seemed like it was a long time, but it was actually pretty quick.
I liked what I saw and I kept watching.
Opening a Doctor Who store in 1984 called Bundles from Britain, where I expanded the business of bringing Doctor Who merchandise to Doctor Who fans in the Chicago area.
Well, my favorite moment, that's very difficult because I think is meeting the people. I made a friend a few years ago, and we were going to meet up in person at Doctoberfest in 2022. So that's one of my favorite moments, was actually meeting that fan in person. So.
Okay, well, I'll give an alternate answer, and this might be the one I have in the book. I honestly don't remember. One year at Visions, which was the sort of second set of conventions that were in Chicago over Thanksgiving weekend, I had to help judge the costume contest, or, as it's called now, the masquerade. And I had to judge it with Brian Blessed. Every time he'd laugh at something, he'd punch me. And if you know Brian Blessed, sometimes after contestants went, he'd have to ask me a question. And imagine Brian Blessed whispering. And I'll just leave that there.
That's a tough one. Man, I can't even remember what I wrote. Probably meeting Keith and Janie of Who North America, because so much of my fandom experience stemmed from that. Any celebrities we've gotten to meet, going to conventions, everything like that, it never would have happened without them.
I would highly recommend Spearhead from Space, the first John Pertwee episode in color. It's a great place to start without a regeneration sequence to confuse viewers, but a good way to get the series rolling.
Oh, shoot. That's difficult. I mean, I'm obviously biased. I'm going to say watch the TV movie, get some 8. But really, I don't know where I would actually introduce them to, but it just depends.
Why 8?
Why 8? Because it's Palm again. I don't know. I'm sorry. Because I think the movie kind of influences the new series in a way. So I think it's a good starting ground. Again, I'm biased. But if you want to start solid, you can start with 9. If you like it from there, then you can go back into the classics. So we'll say 9.
This is a hard question for me to answer. I don't really have a definitive answer. It's tough now because you can pick any specific episode you want and start there. But when I first started watching it, you got what you got. So if you like the first episode, then you'd probably stay hooked. If not, maybe not so much. If I had to pick, and if I could speak, I would say start with Rose probably. If you like the new series, then go back and do like a lot of people do and maybe pick one story from each Doctor.
I don't have any one in particular. I generally would recommend starting anytime a new companion comes on board, because then you're going to get all the standard questions explained, because the new companion is the audience surrogate. So anything in that area is generally going to clear things up pretty quickly.
That's a gentle spin.
Hi, I'm Wendy Swain. My company is William and Eleanor. It's named after my kids. I make things out of fabric. So today I have quilts and bowl cozies that I have made. I've got a bunch of Doctor Who themed fabric bowl cozies, and then I have some other fandom themed bowl cozies. And then if nobody likes any of those, then I also have some regular non-themed or fandom bowl cozies. So I have a quilt that is Doctor Who bookcase. So it has a bunch of Doctor Who fabrics in it. There's a photo with Matt Smith. There's a little TARDIS figurine on a book. There's a rose in a vase. Another little TARDIS, a weeping angel, a Dalek figurine peeking out behind the flower, a Lady Cassandra, and I can't remember what this guy is called, but Zygon, yes, that's right. And then a bunch of other Doctor Who books, and the selvage is the spine, all on a bookcase. And then I also have a TARDIS on a hill, sort of overlooking sunrise or sunset, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it. And those are all made with recycled fabrics that I find, remnants and just old fabrics and things that I find at Goodwill and places like that. So most of it is not online. I do mostly vendor events because Etsy charges a lot, and I make these Doctor Who specific things specifically for this event. So
Clay Swain, I am from Brownsburg.
My name's Colton Garrett, and I'm from Gillette, Wyoming.
My name is Ryan, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
the first episode I saw was Matt Smith's first episode. So my husband was a fan, and he thought that that was the funniest thing when he wakes up and after he regenerates and he's hungry and he's trying to find something to eat, and he ends up eating fish fingers and custard. And we showed that to the kids, and they thought it was hilarious, and that's just where we started. We just started sort of in the middle.
First episode was Eccleston season, episode 1 of his season. That was, I discovered it. I forget what platform it was getting launched on, but I jumped in from that point and was completely hooked in Doctor Who.
Rose when the show aired in 2005.
So my wife watched it when she grew up, and then I think she forced New Who on me, so probably the Mannequin episode with Chris Eccleston was probably the first one that I saw.
I think just from that moment, it was so funny, and it made the kids laugh, and it was something that they could watch, and it was wholesome and interesting, and it had good stories, and so we just sort of ended up watching like one episode a night before bed, and we ended up making it through all the episodes that were available. We started with Matt Smith and then went all the way through I think Jodie Whittaker's first episode, and that was all there was. So we had to then go back to the first, well, we didn't do the older ones, but we went to Chris Eccleston, yeah, and started there, and then made our way back up to David Tennant.
Honestly, through Eccleston, like, I was captivated from that first one. I think the imagination, and I think the type of or the characteristics of Doctor Who really drew me in. That nonviolent, intelligent, problem-solving, curious, all that stuff was just really cool. So from Eccleston, I was in, and then when it went to Tennant, our good friends, KJ and Patches, were also on that journey. So we were kind of having conversations as that transition happened, because I think they were a little bit further ahead. So they were kind of teeing me up and saying, okay, prepare yourself. There's going to be a big shift. And so it's just been fun. And subsequently, I've pulled my family into it as well. So wife and kids are all fans.
So after watching it originally when it aired, it kind of fell off after Eccleston. I didn't ever watch David Tennant's. It didn't air on any channel that I saw. I think the original show aired on Sci-Fi when I was a kid. And so it took a couple of years for me to get back into it, but I think it was Day of the Doctor. I saw a preview for that, and it actually got me back into the series.
So my wife watched it as a kid, and I've always been a science fiction nerd, but I missed it. Like, when I was growing up, it wasn't exposed to me. So when I started seeing her, she started shoving it my way, and then once I kind of got into it, you kind of are stuck with it, right?
Oh gosh, I I don't know. I don't know how to. I think being here is one of my favorite moments of fandom, because the fandom just comes out for this event every year, and it's just so fun to see everybody in costume, and they're excited about the show, and the writers and the actors and everybody, the whole thing. I just think that's amazing.
Oh, great question. Favorite moment? Honestly, I think it was. I had gone through the Eccleston episodes, Tennant episodes, and I think it Matt Smith had come to be, and my wife hadn't yet started or kind of dipped a toe into the Doctor Who waters, and I think that there were so many conversations that I was having with our friends that she eventually kind of jumped into it, and then it was having her come home from work. Where she worked, she was able to watch TV, so she wasn't like negligent or a bad employee, but she would come and would enthusiastically kind of recount, all of the things that she was discovering. So I think that was probably one of my favorite Doctor Who experiences.
Oof, it's probably just been bonding over the show with my friend Noel and my fiance Rachel, showing Rachel the classic Doctors from the 60s.
So now that my kids are teenagers, seeing them enjoy the show like I did is probably my favorite moment.
I think that I would probably say to start with David Tennant's first episode, or maybe the one before that, when Chris Eccleston regenerates into that, because for me, that's when the story chronologically started getting good. So I think that storyline is a good place to start, but that's also pretty far along. There's a lot of story.
So for me, I would probably start them with, and again, based on my experience, I would start with Matt Smith's first episode, because I think the humor draws people in. I think, there's a little bit of slapstick at the front of it, but then you learn the stakes of what the episode is and kind of who Doctor Who is. And I think, again, going back to, I think the beauty of Doctor Who is you can kind of bounce around. Like, that's kind of the point of the Doctor. It's not one individual or one mindset. So you can really make your own journey. But I've pointed to that episode probably more, or pointed more people to that episode than any other.
If they liked the classic series, I would tell them to start with An Unearthly Child. And if they're into older television, obviously, I know a lot of people in this day and age really can't go back. But if anything, you can just start from Rose and you'll be set.
I would probably start with somewhere in the first season of David Tennant. I'm not really sure which episode I would pick, but probably right there.
My name is Dan Ragazzi. I'm with Slayer 3D. I do 3D printing out of my garage. I've been doing booths selling crafts for about a little over a year and a half. I also do some 3D modeling. I have a Patreon for some of the stuff I design. I also do custom signs and nameplates that are a lot of fan art themed and things, including I have a Doctor Who nameplate that I do that's been pretty popular for me. So I got started last year. I got a 3D printer, and in order to pay for the materials, I had to start selling stuff because the materials are expensive. So that's how I got started. I found out about this event in the fall, in the spring, and I was like, oh wow, I've got to get into that because I've been a fan of Doctor Who for. I jumped in kind of late during Matt Smith era, but I've gone back through. I've watched a lot of it, not everything, but I've watched quite a bit of it. I brought out some stuff today that some of the stuff I designed, some stuff that are models that were online that are popular. Some of my 3D HeatForge art, I had AI help design it. And then I took it into software to make a 3D sort of textured 3D print. So that's what these are. These are pretty cool, which you can do with just layering the different colors. I had actually a friend who designed this light box for me, which uses different layered panels and has light shine through the back. I can get some real cool effects. I also talked about my custom nameplate. They have a little TARDIS and your name. You can have doctor and then your first name or your first name, last name. Those are kind of the two popular ways to do it. I do other custom signs. I made a whole bunch of custom keychains with featuring doctors and some logos and some things. Yeah.
My name's Fiona. I'm originally from Chicago, but I moved to Indianapolis 3 years ago.
Hi. Hello, my name is Albert Smith. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a illustrator and a screenwriter. And I work for the Celestial Toy Room magazine by the Doctor Who Appreciation Society.
Hi, everybody. This is Nick Seidler from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, here at Doctoberfest in Indianapolis. I'm very excited to be here. I'm here on the Brandon Peters Show. Brandon was nice enough to ask me a couple questions that he has rolling here, so I'm on board. Let's go.
First one I saw. Well, I mentioned earlier that I jumped in during Matt Smith era, so probably his first episode, the 11th hour, which I watched again last night. So it's one of my favorites.
My first was Rose, the first episode of the 2005 revival.
I don't remember. I remember seeing William Hartnell's face on a black and white image, and it scared the crap out of me. And hopefully I can say that. And I think from there, me and my dad started watching it, and I might have caught like the tail end of Tom Baker, and then went into Peter Davison, like very early 80s.
The first episode of Doctor Who that I ever saw was Genesis of the Daleks. And the story is in the book Fantastic, and I'm very excited, but I was flipping through channels, and that's the book right there. So very excited about it. I was flipping through channels. This was back in the early 80s, and at that time there were only 5 channels in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and as I flipped through the channels, I actually saw a bunch of scientists were confronting evil scientist who was in a wheelchair named Davros, and they were saying that he was doing unethical experiments. And shortly after that, a bunch of robots came in and exterminated those poor scientists who were standing up for the right thing and being ethical. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is amazingly good television. And from there, I immediately started watching Doctor Who.
Well, it's funny. I had a friend who was into it back in high school years ago, and well, actually, no, that was probably my first episode I watched. I don't remember what it was. I watched an episode with her a long time ago. I don't remember who the doctor was, what the episode was, and then I just kind of fell away from it for a while until I rediscovered it much later.
So I watched this show called Good Omens that David Tennant's in, and he played like my favorite character in that show. So I decided to look into him a bit more, and I found out he'd been in the show called Doctor Who. So I watched it while I was like making friendship bracelets, and then I got really into it.
It really, it's kind of personal. Like it kind of saved my life. My dad died when I was a little kid, and that's one of the only things we had together that I remember. And I grew up with something called BPD, and Doctor Who helped me escape a lot of that. And I was like a punk rocker, mohawk, dog collar, and stuff through the 80s and 90s, and living in a little redneck town with no one around. And so like Doctor Who opened me up to all these possibilities of life and stuff.
So after that first week, had a friend, my mom had a friend over, Teresa Mueller, and she had watched Doctor Who in Chicago, and so she knew what it was. I asked her, hey, what show is this? And she was like, oh, this is Doctor Who. I watch it all the time. And from there, I tuned back in the next week. I knew what name of show to look for. And then I started watching it weekly. Every week I would catch an episode and never miss one.
I saw the 50th anniversary in the theaters, and that was a lot of fun. I went again. The friend I talked about earlier went with her and her mom. And that was a fun experience to see, with people dressed in costume and just the fans out watching the 50th anniversary episode, just in the live together. It was kind of cool. And then obviously, I think this is a pretty cool moment too.
I think maybe when I found this store, because I haven't had that much of a fandom experience, just because it's not exactly the most popular thing among 14-year-olds. But coming to this place and seeing that there were so many people who also liked the show was really cool.
So far, my favorite moment, I've got two. One was when I got to do the final cover for Celestial Toy Rooms. They were doing just print only, and then it went to print and digital, and I got the cover for that, and I did Joy to the World for that. And the other thing was I didn't get to meet him, but I worked on a comic with Mike Collins, who's the storyboard artist for Doctor Who right now for Bad Wolf, and I think he's done some comic book stuff. So I got to my stories are in the same magazine as his, so that was really cool.
What's my favorite moment in my fandom experience? I would probably say getting to know all of the amazing people and fans that I've been able to interact with. I've been pretty active in fandom. I've worked at conventions. I've guest liaisoned at different events. I've helped organize fanzines and write things, and I now help publish books in that space. But by far, not even close to any of those amazing experiences that I've had, the people that I've gotten to meet in Doctor Who fandom. It's super cool to meet people that kind of stand up for justice, ethics, all those positive things, and such kind people. And if there's anything that I think the world needs, it needs more people that are like the Doctor, and that's what Doctor Who fans are. Nice, kind, devoted to justice, doing the right thing, and smart and clever, which I think we all need.
I hear a lot of people say Blink is a good one to get into. That's obviously a good episode. I kind of think starting with the Ninth Doctor, just starting at the new rebooted series is probably a good place to start. It gets you into the more of the modern era, and then once you get hooked into that, then you can go back and watch some of the older stuff, which can be a little harder to. The timing stuff back then was a little different than what people expect today, but once you get into it, I think it's good.
I would probably say to start with the same place I did at 2005. Partially because I'm a completionist, and I assume that everybody else is too, but also because I think having the whole story is really nice for knowing things.
I don't know. I would just let them hop in wherever they liked, and then make them discover it. Some things I wouldn't necessarily have them watch. Like I wouldn't have them watch Time Lash as their first episode, because I love all Doctor Who, but some of it can be a little too out there for some people.
If I were to start someone anywhere on Doctor Who, I have an unusual answer for that, and that is that I think you can start anywhere on Doctor Who. That's kind of how I discovered it. I did not have a starting point. I stumbled into it, and I think you can do the same. I recommend that somebody actually watch 3 episodes in a row, and that just helps you understand what the show is about, because no one single show tells you kind of what Doctor Who as a series is. Nowadays, we have the advantage of being able to go right to a particular starting point because a lot of the Doctor Who content is now available. So I recommend people usually start at Rose. That's already 20 years old. That sounds like it's the beginning, which for us seasoned fans, that's halfway through maybe. But I think that's a great point, and that gives you the advantage of getting a quick taste with the 9th Doctor, meeting the 10th, and then, of course, the 11th, 12th, and seeing everything that develops from there. And I think those are some great and golden years for Doctor Who. We love it when fans are involved in our projects. That's really what we do at Zepo Publishing more than anything else. We are actually already working on a second book to follow Fantastic, and that book is going to be called Behind the Sofa and Under the Bed, Stories That Scared Doctor Who Fans. And we would love to ask you some questions about if Doctor Who ever really scared you and what episodes might have done that. And we invite you to be a part of that project. You can actually go to the Zepo Publishing website, zepopublishing.com. And if you go to the books tab there, the questions are already there. We'd love to have you be a part of our next book project. The whole point of fandom and the whole point of Doctor Who is including everybody, making it wonderful, and we want you guys to be a part of the project.
Cool shirt.
Okay, thank you everybody for checking out another year here at Doctoberfest at Who North America. Thank you to Who North America and David Bradbury for having me. Thank you to Larry VanMersbergen for taking just seconds of his busy time from all the people lining up for pictures and autographs to spend with me. And thank you to Zepo Publishing, Stephen, Rob, Nick, you're all the best. And especially the one and only Russell McGee. Thank you all. I'll see you next week, and stay film positive. I'm watching you. I'm getting video of you
Deflating a movie dog. It took me almost a half an hour to inflate this dude.
Deflator mouse. Deflator
and of course, you can't just open it up because it's got a lock. So I got to hold it down. Once these guys deflated, he doesn't get deflated again until next year. So
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.
Every time he'd laugh at something, he'd punch me. And if you know Brian Blessed, sometimes after contestants went, he'd have to ask me a question. And imagine Brian Blessed whispering. And I'll just leave that there. Maybe that's a different story than I told in the book.